Well, thank you again for allowing me to speak here. As I see a number of faces in the audience here that I've worked with over my years as a scientist. Many of the previous speakers here have talked about one of my former employers, Metro Vancouver, where I was a scientist for 26 years. But I was also an environmental planner with Metro Vancouver, so I know a great deal about many of the plans because I've worked on them. And as Joanne says, food is important to the Semiahmoo. Fish is very important to me because I'm coming here. How do I get this to work? Okay, back. As I said, I worked on many plans over my, it's 40 plus years as a scientist, and 26 being in the Lower Mainland. And as a community advocate, the Salmon Enhancement Habitat Advisory Board, we provide direction to DFO. We represent 35,000 fisheries volunteers throughout the province of British Columbia that work specifically on salmon enhancement programs. We run the community hatcheries, Little Campbell being one of them that I represent. Nicomekl Enhancement Society is another one that I work at as a volunteer and represent, Tynehead. I was disheartened when Grant brought up the information about 168th and Highway 10 because I know what's going on there. That's where Metro Vancouver has an overflow station for the South Surrey wastewater treatment. And I expect that that's going to be an expansion of that system. The intent is that when that system overflows, presently it goes into the Cloverdale Canal, which discharges into the Nicomekl River. With the expansion of that, it could discharge into the Serpentine River, which is right next to it. So it's disheartening to hear that that was removed from the agricultural land. And just a lot of the other, as I said, director, I see one of our councillors from the Township of Langley here. I sat on one of the committees there, which has now been defunct. So we still want to protect the environment, though. So I said I've had 40 years as a scientist. Specifically, I can tell you about water quality. I've worked on water quality throughout the province of British Columbia for 40 plus years. I started in the private sector with Weyerhaeuser Canada and Kamloops, working with the Pacific Salmon Commission. Water quality as a chemist, I can tell you what happens. What happens in ground, infiltration, exfiltration, pollutants, contaminants, side effects, etc. That's what I've based my career on. Also as a biologist and as a planner. These are some of the programs that I've had the fortunate opportunity to work on over my years. As Joanne said about Boundary Bay, where Semiahmoo is located, Semiahmoo First Nations was an important partner to the Boundary Bay Assessment and Monitoring Program, as was the City of Surrey. Friends of Semiahmoo Bay, community groups, Delta, White Rock. It was recognized in 2008 for its transboundary nature as a multi-agency, multi-community group monitoring program to protect environmental health of the bay, of the Little Campbell, the Nicomekl, the Serpentine rivers, this watershed. I keep going back. That's taken at Semiahmoo First Nations, right as the Little Campbell goes into the bay. That's an example of what we want to continue seeing. There's no fish in the river. You won't see this. They'll be dead, extinct. I did this on purpose because when we talk to the Little Campbell in the truck park, we're not just talking of a small area. This is Boundary Bay watershed. It's comprised of many individual smaller watersheds, aquifers, etc. within that area. But again, it's transboundary. What we do here affects our brothers to the south of us. We can't do it in isolation. So we talk about water quality. I have data on the Little Campbell. from 2008 onwards. I've probably worked on them since 1990s. Nicomekl, you know, all the different stations that we have here. We have the data. We have what happens here. It's not like we're working in isolation. And I'll say the city of Surrey, their environmental engineering group has worked very closely. They've been extremely proactive in developing these programs and moving it forward. Where, you know, I have to say some of the other municipalities haven't been. And this just gives you an example of all the monitoring stations that have been in this area that we have along the border, in the bay, on the Little Campbell, Nicomekl, the Serpentine, etc. So it's not like we don't have data that supports the concerns that the public have or the government agencies have on industrial development. I think Grant was right and Kevin's right. You develop an industrial park in a specific area. It's only the start of your development. And that's what I saw at Metro Vancouver as a planner. You start small. Do I think it's going to be a truck park for long? Absolutely not. There's no money in it. It doesn't make economic sense. There's other higher values that'll lead to. Again, Puget Sound, I just said that, you know, what we do here affects what happens south of the border too, what happens in the bay. I can't remember which speaker said, water doesn't choose boundaries. It's not like you just shut off the tap at a municipality and nothing happens to affect the municipality downstream or upstream, etc. It moves. When we developed the Boundary Bay program, and Little Campbell was an integral part of this program, these are some of the questions that we asked. And you know, when we talk about best management practices, I worked in a think tank at Metro Vancouver for 5 years that looked at every type of industry that is in the lower mainland of British Columbia. What they generate, what their wastes are, not just water or wastewater. We looked at air quality, source control, or we refer that to the wastewater, solid waste. We looked at the impact of how many employees they had, where it was going to go. When I was still at Metro Vancouver, I developed a program called Green Business, and it looked at how business could operate in an environmentally sustainable manner. It wasn't taking away from business that they couldn't operate or that they couldn't make money. It was how they could make more money being environmentally sustainable than what they were in their common practices. So we heard from David here about trucking and the rapid road to the bottom. And it's unfortunate, deregulation. It's affect truckers. I don't know how some of these people make money or even survive because there's somebody else wants to undercut. That's not a very good slide, but I just wanted to show some of the different partners in this program and the time. The biggest thing that I hear over and over here again today is it takes the community, the professionals, the government agencies, community members at large to actually get out and voice their opinion. And that's what's going to stand up, and that's what's going to get your number of directors. That's what gets your number of directors to at the City of Surrey saying, no, it's not going to work. Let's move it where it makes sense. And as a planner, that's what I would say too. It's not south of Fraser Highway. It's actually not south of number 1. And again, you know, some of the partners. And this is what Friends of Hazelmere are putting together. Speakers here today, we all come from different walks of life. We're partners. And that's what's going to get this project changed. Let's talk about stream health, which is what I came here to focus on today. I did 2 slides here, natural environment, an altered environment. You alter 77 acres of truck park. That stream is dead. Truck park? First thing that happens is people clean their trucks. David said here that truckers can't afford to do, to take it to a maintenance shop or whatever. Most of these guys will do their own maintenance if they're using this facility. That means they're going to be under the truck, they're going to be draining their oil. If they're gravel trucks or asphalt trucks in here, what do they use? They use diesel. Clean the boxes. Where does the diesel go? Into the ground. Where does that go? Into the stream. I heard of other people that have wells here. Can't drink the water. It's contaminated. And this is only a start. I've been doing this for 44 years. I've worked on hazardous waste response for the province of British Columbia. Is it going to happen? Absolutely. It's a matter of when. And it's also about the level of severity. It will happen. There isn't, I can't put together a program where I can say it's 100% fail-safe. It's going to fail. I'm a scientist. I develop programs to fail. That's how I learn. And then I move on and develop the next stage to make it work better, knowing that it's going to fail again. But that's what I learned as a scientist. Wrong way. Let's get back to Metro Vancouver. Grant was very emphatic about Metro Vancouver, the city of Surrey, etc. The Integrated Liquid Resource Management Plan is one of your tools that you can use on this truck park or managing. It says reduce liquid waste at their source. You have to reduce the waste going into the aquifer, into the ground, to protect stream health. And it said regional-wide on-site management for rainwater based on localized geology, rainfall, and watershed conditioning. You're in a watershed. Is it the best location? No. Your soils are porous. Anything that you put into the soils here is coming through. Okay, let's talk about the stormwater management plan, which is critical to this issue. There's a ministerial letter in May of 2011, and it said coordinated plan or program to monitor stormwater, use a weight of evidence, and systematically consider environmental consequences of different land use approaches prior to build-out. This is on record. This is the Minister of Environment. He ordered Metro Vancouver to develop an integrated stormwater management plan, and every municipality had to develop their own for every watershed, this being one of them. So we call them ISMPs, but there has to be an ISMP developed that protects stream health. This is what the basis of that program is. You can see the ISMP is land use, the hydrology, the ecology. We talk of official community plans, we talk of weight of evidence approach, and the weight of evidence approach that's where I come in as a scientist. I design a program as to how you can measure. Because if you can't measure it, that doesn't tell you how healthy your stream is or how healthy your ecosystem is. But the bottom line there to the right was protect stream health. That was mandated. It wasn't said, well, we can do it today and we don't have to do it tomorrow, or what's reasonable. This is like a stoplight approach that not only the government, all the government agencies worked on this. BC Ministry of Environment, City of Surrey and myself and the other municipalities that actually came to the table were very vocal because they wanted to strengthen this. Some of the municipalities don't have streams, they have pipes. We talked to the City of Vancouver, 300 lost streams. We talked to the City of Richmond, they don't have any streams. They have pipes. Other municipalities have a combination. They manage their stormwater along with their wastewater. Combined sewers overflow. I did my master's thesis on this in the Lower Mainland. So it affects the ecosystem health. Where the Little Campbell is right now is somewhere between the green and the yellow level. I wouldn't say it's not natural. It has urbanization. It has stressors upstream, downstream. Where you get into the red level is where you have to make a determination. Can we bring that level of that or the ecological health of that stream back or not? Or do we write it off? We see in the city of Vancouver, many of them they're trying to rehabilitate, trying to daylight. I work in the township of Langley, and I'm pushing the township all the time to improve stream health. The Nicomekl River system. I work with the Nicomekl Enhancement Society, and we like fish. The fish have a long ways to go. Where I'm fighting is with the city of Surrey on the sea dams, because they stop the fish from free passage, and so they get slaughtered by the seals at Crescent Beach. So Joanne's very familiar with my spiel on that. So where should we be looking at your development here? I can't say that I'm opposed to a truck park. I'm a scientist. Is there places for a truck park? Yes. Why aren't they using this? Adaptive management approach to develop that truck park. Where should it be? What makes sense? There's an economic approach. There's an ecological approach. There's a community approach. You don't use this, you're wasting your time. So what's happening in the Little Campbell? Well, we already know we have agriculture as a stressor, deforestation, urban development, urbanization, and that's going to increase. The more you change from a pervious surface to an impervious surface, the higher that stressor gets. More runoff, the more you affect the hydrology, the water quality, the ability of the stream to actually raise fish. And we're not just looking at, when I talk about water quality, etc. Look at the social value. When I come out here on a Sunday and I see the number of people coming through the hatchery here or walking the stream, and the comments are, this is a great place to bring my kids or grandchildren, etc. And I see the same on the other streams here. The Nicomekl, we have 26 school programs on the Nicomekl alone. Little Campbell has many also. You take away those programs, as Don said here, you got nothing. Where are the kids we'll be back into the virtual fish aspect of it. And then where are we going? Virtual fish, no food. No food, we starve. As I'm not going to continue on. I was limited to 15 minutes. I've got 20 years of research on this stream. So here's what's expected. So keep going. How about a no-go zone? No development or sustainable development. Be part of the solution, not the problem. Don't say, okay, nothing's going to happen. We're not going to allow it. Push towards sustainable development where it should be. And again, I got to thank the volunteers here. 59 years, that's a lot of man hours. And DFO puts a value of $10 per day per person as a volunteer. So if you put that in 59 years, it's in the millions. There's fish. Thank you.